I saw a quote that said, "It's so funny how finding yourself in adulthood is simply getting back to who you were and what you loved as a child." So after the video, Carla went up to me and she told me that she noticed that a lot of people get inspired by other people than ourselves. And she didn't realize that that was her. So she saw the video and she got inspired by herself. I wanted to explore on that because yes, we often look at other people for inspiration. We look at people for motivation. We look for someone that's gonna pull us out of our own holes as opposed to us doing it ourselves. Like in MMA, you're gonna go into a fight by yourself. Yeah, the coach is gonna be there, but you're essentially fighting. No one's doing the fight for you. And that's the same thing in life. So we can expect other people to give us that motivation, that inspiration, when you can find that within us. And I told Taz that I was like, it's funny that you mentioned that because I personally feel inspired by my own story. Whatever I know, like whatever you make it think.
Like, oh, it sounds so fucking narcissistic.
No, the point is that I have to look back into my life and see what I've been through and how it has led me to be where I am now. Listening to her story, I was also very inspired because we both came from the same wound. Okay. No, we both grew up so similar and yet different at the same time. She went through a lot of shit and I did too. Now that I think about all these things that I went through and all these traumas that I faced, there's one thing that came to mind. Disassociation, but this is a trauma response. I was in constant like fight or flight. I was in constant like nervousness and anxiety, and I disassociated myself from a lot of things. Like I didn't want to remember things because they were so hurtful. I was verbally abused, psychologically abused, and at times I felt like I was physically abused. So I know it's a lot to say, but look, I went through that, but this is who I am now. And when I talk about my past, I don't talk about my past because I want to feel pity or I feel bad for myself. You know, like at first the first few conversations that I had with Taz, him and I used to go to that part of my life that I didn't want to remember. I deliberately did not want to remember the shit that I went through, like the stuff that made me so depressed. I didn't want to go through that because it's sad, you know, and I felt shame and I felt guilt and I was embarrassed. But those were the days that I broke down and I couldn't hold that anymore. I couldn't be strong anymore. So I always sugarcoated and I always held that strength within me, not wanting to say stuff because I was scared. I was scared that I was gonna hurt somebody by saying how I really felt. And I was scared to feel weak, right? So in those times that, for the most part, came in the times that I was sparring or that we were just having conversations about random topics. And let's say the self-image, because that one is very sensitive to me. So there was this one time that Taz, Carla, and I were talking about self-image and body image. And then when he said that, I was triggered and I wanted to cry. And I told him that I needed to stay quiet because I couldn't handle it. And it wasn't something that he said towards me. It was just a random comment, but I was so triggered. And because of that, that's why I decided to explore the topic of self-image, because if that trigger response came when I was so happy, supposedly at the time, I just had eaten. So, you know, when I'm like hangry, but then I eat and I feel good. And then I'm like, okay, you know, I feel good. I feel like myself, blah, blah, blah. But then because he said that, it made me want to cry. And I was like, what the f***? Like, this is weird. This is not normal. So then I was like, you know what? Let me just explore it. See where that all comes from. See why I'm feeling the way that I am feeling. And then I want to face it so I can move on from it. So I don't feel bad for saying it, you know? And I learned that, yes, everyone has a story, but it's a matter of how you deal with that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's this whole concept of, it's not about what life gives you, but it's about how you respond to it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I now listen to myself. I self-reflect a lot. Like when we're grappling, we just go with the flow, right? We're doing things, but there's no flow if you're not okay internally. Like the biggest thing that I've had to work on for so long in MMA is finding my flow in grappling. Like finding a position, transitioning to another position, gaining that control, getting that submission, if not, finding another position and just like going back and forth. But because I was always anxious, like there was always that part of me that was triggered, like what if I mess up? Like what if I I can't, like what if I get submitted, or what if I'm weak, what if I can't feel like good? Like I would always have these freak out modes, right? Now not anymore, because I've had to slow things down in my brain. And it's the same thing with any action that I do in my life. Like personal issue, like self-image. I had to sit down and honestly listen to my heart. And I had to hear myself and see what I was feeling on the inside. I slowed things down. Didn't use social media for it. I didn't use YouTube for it. I didn't use music for it. I just literally sat my ass down, like right now, to just feel. And that's the same thing with grappling, like freak out so much and now I just feel. One of our coaches, Matt, says that when he grapples, he closes his eyes because he learns in grappling, you don't need to see what's going on for you to just feel what's happening, you know? And the thing about this is that I actually close my eyes and I just feel my opponent. And what has helped me so much too is the fact that when I go with someone that knows what they're doing, like Tess, like he's calm, he's collected, like he doesn't freak out, and I feel his energy, right? So that for me is what helps me stay grounded. And that also ties in with the fact that I don't associate myself, or I don't talk to a lot of people.